I walked through my front door expecting the smell of Barbara's pot roast, maybe the sound of her watching the evening news. Instead, I heard this high-pitched wailing that made my blood freeze. I dropped my tackle box right there in the hallway and ran toward the kitchen. My name is Vincent Brooks, and I'm 58 years old. I spent 25 years as an investigator for the IRS, tracking down tax cheats and financial fraudsters. I thought I'd seen every kind of scam in the book. Turns out, the worst one was happening right in my own house. The scene in my kitchen was chaos. My wife Barbara was curled up on the linoleum floor near the island, clutching her chest and rocking back and forth. Shattered pieces of her favorite blue ceramic tea set were scattered everywhere, glinting under the overhead lights like broken glass. The blast pattern told a story. These weren't thrown at the wall. Someone had smashed them directly onto the floor. My daughter Cheryl was standing there with her hands on her hips, shaking her head while her husband Dean leaned against the counter looking at his phone. When they saw me, Cheryl immediately shifted from annoyed to panicked. "Dad, thank God you're home early," she said, rushing over and grabbing my arm. Her voice had this theatrical whine to it. Mom is having one of her episodes again. We just stopped by to check on her, and she started screaming that there were intruders. She threw the tea set at the wall. I looked down at Barbara. Her eyes were wide and terrified, but she wasn't looking at some imaginary intruder. She was looking directly at Cheryl and Dean. That's when I noticed something that made my investigator instincts kick in. Barbara's cardigan had ridden up her arm slightly, revealing a fresh red mark above her wristwatch, the distinct shape of a thumbprint darkening into a bruise. I knelt down beside my wife, ignoring the ceramic shards digging into my knees. Barbara was shaking so hard her teeth were chattering. When I reached out to touch her shoulder, she flinched like I was about to hit her. That reaction set off every alarm bell in my head. Barbara had a mild stroke 8 months ago, which left her weak and occasionally confused, but she'd never been violent. Never. And she'd certainly never flinched away from me in 32 years of marriage. Dean finally looked up from his phone and sighed loud enough for me to hear. "Look, Vincent, we hate to say this, but the doctor warned us about this decline. Dementia creates aggression." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a glossy brochure. "I've already done the legwork for you. Golden Oaks Nursing Facility has a bed opening up this Friday. It's expensive, about $5,000 a month, but for Barbara's safety, it's necessary." I took the brochure with steady hands, though inside my chest, my heart was hammering. I looked at Cheryl. Her makeup was perfect. Her clothes were unruffled. A woman dealing with a violent dementia patient usually looks disheveled, but she looked like she'd just come from a salon appointment. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. If I confronted them now, they'd deny everything. They'd claim she fell or that I was the one losing it. I needed proof. I needed to be Vincent Brooks, the investigator who sat across from tax cheats and smiled while they buried themselves with their own lies. I stood up and put on the mask of a tired, defeated old man. "You might be right," I said, keeping my voice low and weary. "She does seem very confused lately. I just need to get her settled down. Can you two give us a moment?" Cheryl exchanged a look with Dean. It was a look I recognized from my years at the IRS, the look criminals give each other when they think they've fooled the investigator. "Of course, Dad," she said, patting my arm with a touch that felt cold as ice. "We'll leave the brochure on the counter. Think about it carefully. We only want what's best for Mom." They left the house, and I waited until I heard Dean's BMW fade down the driveway. Only then did I allow myself to drop the act. I spent the next hour cleaning up the ceramic pieces, each shard a piece of evidence in my mental case file. I helped Barbara into bed, gave her the evening medication, and sat by her side until her breathing evened out. She didn't speak a word to me, just gripped my hand so tight her knuckles turned white. At midnight, when the house was completely silent, I went downstairs to my study and locked the door. This room had been my sanctuary for years, walls lined with tax law books, a desk covered with the tools of financial investigation. Tonight, it would become my war room. I opened my laptop with hands that were no longer shaking. Last week, I'd noticed something odd. Barbara's heart medication seemed to be running low faster than it should. My first thought was that maybe our cleaning lady was confused about the pills. So I'd done what any careful investigator would do. I installed a small security camera in the smoke detector above the kitchen island. It was a simple precaution. I never expected to catch my own family in a crime. I logged into the security system and scrolled back to 2 hours before I got home. I clicked play and my world changed forever. The video loaded in crisp HD. I watched Dean and Cheryl enter the kitchen through the back door. They didn't have groceries like they'd claimed. They had a stack of legal documents and the predatory look of vultures circling wounded prey. Barbara was sitting at the breakfast table drinking tea. Looking peaceful in her favorite floral dress, she had no idea what was coming. On screen, Dean slammed the papers onto the table so hard Barbara's teacup rattled. "Sign it, Mom," he shouted. The audio picked up every harsh syllable. His voice had a desperate edge I'd never heard before. "We don't have time for Vincent to review this legal stuff." Barbara looked confused, but kept her dignity. "Dean, I told you I can't sign over the trust fund without my husband. Vincent handles our finances. That's how we've always done things." Dean stepped into the frame, and I could see his face clearly now. This wasn't the polite son-in-law who asked about my golf game. This was a man backed into a corner, and cornered animals are dangerous. He started pacing like a caged tiger. "We don't have time for Vincent's careful review process," he snapped. I could see his reflection in the glass oven door, and his face was twisted with something between rage and panic. "I owe these guys a $180,000 by next Friday, Barbara. If I don't pay, they break my legs. Do you want that on your conscience? Do you want Cheryl to be a widow?" I paused the video. $180,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. I knew Dean's IT consulting business was struggling hell. I'd helped him incorporate it 5 years ago, but I had no idea he was drowning in that kind of debt. The crypto trading he'd mentioned at family dinners wasn't just a hobby. It was an addiction that had destroyed him. I hit play again, dreading what came next. Barbara stood up from the table with the careful movements of someone recovering from a stroke. "I'm not signing anything without Vincent," she said firmly. "You need to leave my house right now." That's when it happened. Dean stepped forward and slapped her across the face. The sound cracked through my laptop speakers like a gunshot. Barbara stumbled backward, one hand flying to her cheek, shock and pain registering on her face before she began to cry. "Don't you walk away from me, you old bat!" Dean screamed. His mask was completely off now. This was who he really was underneath the polite exterior. He grabbed Barbara by the shoulders and shoved her down into the chair with enough force to make her gasp. But it was what Cheryl did next that broke my heart completely. My daughter, the little girl I'd taught to ride a bicycle, the teenager I'd helped with calculus homework, the young woman I'd walked down the aisle, picked up Barbara's ceramic teapot and raised it above her head. For a moment, I thought she was going to hit her mother with it. Instead, she smashed it onto the floor right next to Barbara's feet. Shards flew everywhere, and Barbara cried out as several pieces cut her legs through her thin stockings. "Sign the papers, old woman," Dean hissed, leaning down until his face was inches from Barbara's. He picked up one of the sharp ceramic pieces and held it like a weapon, just close enough to her wrist to make his threat clear. "Or maybe you want another accident. Maybe this time you fall down the stairs when Vincent isn't here to save you." I watched my wife of 32 years sob in terror while my daughter and son-in-law stood over her like predators. The worst part was seeing how they'd planned this. They knew exactly when I'd be gone. They'd waited for their opportunity like professional criminals. The video continued, and I watched them hear my car in the driveway. Their transformation was instant and chilling. Dean smoothed his hair and straightened his jacket. Cheryl kicked the legal documents under the refrigerator and wiped her hands on a dish towel. They prepared their faces to lie to me with the skill of practiced con artists. I sat in the dark for a long time after the video ended. The glow of the monitor was the only light in the room, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. This wasn't a family dispute anymore. This was elder abuse, extortion, and assault. This was a federal crime happening in my own kitchen. But as I stared at the frozen image of Dean threatening my wife with a ceramic shard, I realized something important. Prison was too good for them. They'd get a decent lawyer, claim it was emotional stress from Barbara's condition, maybe plead down to probation. Dean would serve 18 months in minimum security and come out thinking he was smarter than the system. No, I wanted to destroy them completely. I wanted to hit them where it would hurt the most, their wallets, their freedom, and their future. I wanted them to understand that when you threaten Vincent Brooks's family, you're not just fighting a retired guy with a bad knee. You're fighting 25 years of IRS investigation experience and a very patient man with very little left to lose. I made copies of the footage and uploaded them to 3 different cloud servers with military-grade encryption. I created a detailed timeline of events and started a case file just like the old days. Then I opened a new browser window and started researching Dean's financial situation. What I found in the next 2 hours of digging made my blood run cold. This wasn't just about gambling debts. Dean had been systematically looting his business accounts for months using client funds to cover his crypto losses. He was facing potential federal wire fraud charges even without this extortion attempt. But the real bombshell came when I hacked into his email account. The password was pathetically simple, Cheryl 1989, her name and birth year. Inside his sent folder, I found correspondence with a woman named Tiffany Walsh, his 26-year-old assistant. The messages weren't about business meetings. The next morning, I got up early and made coffee like nothing had happened. Barbara was still shaken, but I'd switched out her evening medication to make sure Dean hadn't tampered with it. When Dean and Cheryl arrived using their spare key, I was ready for them. They walked into the kitchen radiating nervous energy, like animals that smell danger but can't identify the source. Cheryl was overdressed for a morning visit, full makeup, jewelry, the works. Dean kept checking his phone every 30 seconds. These weren't people coming to check on family. These were people coming to close a deal. "Morning, Dad," Cheryl said too loudly, her voice pitched high with fake cheer. "How's Mom doing today? Did she sleep okay after yesterday's episode?" "She's resting upstairs," I said, turning my back to them as I poured 3 mugs of coffee. I made my movements slow and deliberate, playing the part of a man defeated by circumstances. "I barely slept last night thinking about what you said about Golden Oaks." I placed the mugs on the kitchen table and sat down heavily, making sure to rub my forehead like I had a crushing headache. "You know, you're probably right about everything. I can't take care of her alone anymore, and if her aggression is getting worse, I might be in real danger too." Dean sat down so fast his chair scraped against the floor. I could practically see dollar signs in his eyes. "I'm glad you're being sensible about this, Vincent. It really is for the best. Barbara needs professional care." "There's just one problem," I said, staring down into my black coffee like it held the answers to all my troubles. "The monthly cost at Golden Oaks is $5,000. My pension covers our living expenses and the house payments, but it won't stretch to cover that kind of money." I let the silence hang in the air like smoke. I could hear Dean's breathing getting faster. Cheryl was gripping the edge of the table so hard her knuckles were white. "I've been thinking all night," I continued, my voice trembling just slightly. "I think I have to liquidate some assets. I have that trust fund from my parents that's grown to about $1 in now. I was saving it for retirement, really for you and Cheryl eventually, but I suppose I have to cash it out to pay for Barbara's care." The air left the room. $1.2 million. I watched Dean's pupils dilate. I saw Cheryl's hand fly to her throat. This was more money than they'd dared to hope for. "Dad," Cheryl said, her voice shaky with barely controlled excitement, "you don't have to liquidate everything at once. That's a huge tax hit, and it takes time to coordinate with financial advisors. You need power of attorney help to manage something this complex." She leaned forward, and I could smell her expensive perfume, the kind Dean's assistant probably wore. "If you sign legal control over to us temporarily, we can manage the liquidation process properly. We can make sure Mom gets the best care possible while protecting the rest of your assets from unnecessary taxes and fees." Dean leaned in like a shark smelling blood. "Exactly, Vincent. You're under tremendous stress right now. The last thing you should be doing is making complex financial decisions while you're grieving Barbara's condition. Let us handle the technical burden." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out the same document they'd tried to force Barbara to sign yesterday. They'd simply swapped out her name for mine at the top. The audacity was breathtaking. I picked up my reading glasses with shaking hands, moving like a man 20 years older than my actual age. I reached for the pen Dean had placed next to the papers. Cheryl was holding her breath. Dean was practically vibrating with anticipation. I brought the pen to the signature line. Then, with perfect timing, I reached for my coffee mug with my other hand. I let a violent tremor run through my arm, the kind you see in men who've had small strokes. The mug tipped over and hot black coffee flooded across the table, soaking the legal document instantly. "Oh God, no," I said, dropping the pen and grabbing for paper towels. "Look at me, I'm falling apart. I'm so sorry, I'm just so clumsy lately." Dean jumped up, swearing under his breath as he tried to save the soggy document. It tore in his hands, the ink running like tears down the expensive paper. "It's okay, Dad," Cheryl said through gritted teeth, her smile so forced it looked painful. "These things happen. We can just print another copy." "I'm just so shaken up by everything," I said, dabbing at the mess with trembling hands. Maybe this is a sign from above. Maybe I should have my attorney Keith Armstrong look at this document before we print a new one. Just to make sure we're handling the tax implications properly. The mention of my estate attorney, a man known for his thoroughness and his complete inability to be bought, made Dean's face go pale. No, Dad," Cheryl said quickly. "We don't need to involve Keith. He charges $400 an hour just to read documents. We can handle this ourselves." "But if I'm signing over $1.2 million, I said, looking directly into her eyes, "I want to make sure everything is legally sound. Keith knows estate law better than anyone." Dean's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles jumping. "The nursing home bed won't wait forever, Vincent. Golden Oaks has other families interested. Then we'll find another facility," I said, with sudden firmness that made them both step back. "I'm not rushing into anything this important. I'll call Keith this afternoon, and we can all meet next week to review the paperwork properly." As they gathered their things to leave, I saw Dean kick my car tire in the driveway through the kitchen window. His composure was cracking. "Good. Desperate people make mistakes, and I was going to be there to document every single one. That afternoon, I made 2 phone calls that would change everything. The first was to my old colleague Joel Richardson at the FBI. The second was to Keith Armstrong, but not for the reason Dean and Cheryl thought. Joel, I said when Agent Richardson picked up, I need to report a federal crime. Elder abuse, extortion, and wire fraud. And Joel, the suspects are my own family. The trap was set, now I just had to wait for them to walk into it. 3 days later, I had everything I needed. Joel Richardson had moved faster than I'd expected. The FBI Financial Crimes Unit had been tracking similar elder abuse cases for months, and my evidence was exactly what they needed to build a pattern. I'd also done some investigating of my own. Following Dean's digital trail was easier than tracking a tax cheat with shoeboxes full of receipts. His crypto trading account showed losses of $240,000 over 18 months. His business credit cards were maxed out, and those emails with Tiffany Walsh weren't just inappropriate. They included detailed discussions about running away together once Dean got his hands on the old folks' money. The meeting was set for 9 a.m. at Jerome Walsh's law office downtown. Walsh was the kind of attorney you hire when you need documents that look legal but can't stand up to real scrutiny. I'd seen his work before during IRS investigations. I walked into the gleaming lobby of the Millennium Tower wearing my best charcoal gray suit and carrying a briefcase that looked appropriately official. Dean and Cheryl were already there in the conference room, along with Walsh and another man I didn't recognize. The stranger had the look of muscle, expensive suit that couldn't hide the fact he was built for intimidation, rather than boardroom meetings. Vincent, Dean said, standing up to shake my hand. His palm was sweaty, and I could see the exhaustion in his eyes. This was a man who hadn't slept properly in weeks. Thanks for coming. We have everything ready to sign. I sat down at the polished mahogany table and looked at the documents spread out like a feast for vultures. Power of attorney forms, bank transfer authorizations, property deeds, everything they needed to steal my life's work in one afternoon. Before we start, I said slowly, keeping my voice tired and defeated, I want to see Barbara. I want to know she's okay. Dad, we talked about this, Cheryl said, and I noticed her hands were shaking slightly. She's been sedated since yesterday. She had another violent episode. Then video call Golden Oaks, I demanded. I want to see my wife. Dean pulled out his phone with obvious reluctance and dialed a number. After a moment, he turned the screen toward me. Barbara was lying in a hospital bed, her eyes closed, looking pale but breathing steadily. See, Dean said, pulling the phone away before I could get a good look. She's resting comfortably. The doctors say the sedation is helping her agitation. Now, can we please get this paperwork finished? I picked up the gold-plated pen Walsh had provided. My hand was steady now, steadier than it had been in days. I promise you, Dean, I said, my voice losing its tremor and gaining the authority I'd used in 1,000 IRS interrogations. You're going to get exactly what you deserve. Dean laughed nervously. Yeah, sure, Vincent. Just sign your name so we can take care of everything. I started writing, but instead of Vincent Brooks, I wrote in clear, bold letters, Federal Wire Fraud Title 18 USC, Section 1344-3. Dean grabbed the document, his smile dying instantly. What is this? This isn't your signature. No, Dean, I said, standing up and dropping the defeated old man act completely. That's your future. Title 18, Section 433-wire fraud. Up to 20 years in federal prison. Before he could process what was happening, I pressed a button on my phone. The large wall monitor that Walsh used for client presentations flickered to life, displaying the crystal clear video footage from my kitchen camera. The room filled with the sound of Dean's voice screaming at Barbara, the crack of his hand across her face, the crash of the ceramic teapot hitting the floor. Cheryl gasped and covered her mouth. The muscle-bound stranger looked at Dean with disgust and started backing toward the door. You set me up, Dean whispered, his face draining of color. No, Dean, I said calmly. I just gave you enough rope to hang yourself. That's when the conference room doors exploded inward. FBI, get down. Federal agents, men in tactical gear poured into the room, their voices loud and commanding. Dean tried to run but was tackled before he made it 3 steps. Cheryl screamed as they zip-tied her hands behind her back. Walsh was pushed against the wall, his expensive suit wrinkled as agents searched him for weapons. Vincent Brooks, Agent Richardson said, nodding at me respectfully as the chaos continued around us. We've secured your wife from the facility. She's safe and being transported to St. Mary's Hospital for evaluation. I watched as they dragged Dean out in handcuffs. You're insane. He screamed over his shoulder. This is family business. You can't do this to your own daughter. My daughter wouldn't have threatened her mother with broken ceramic, I called back. You taught her to do that, Dean, and now you're both going to pay for it. 6 months later, I sat in federal court as the judge read the sentences. Dean got 8 years for wire fraud, elder abuse, and extortion. The evidence of his crypto trading losses and the affair with Tiffany Walsh had destroyed any sympathy the jury might have had. Cheryl received 2 years probation and 500 hours of community service. The prosecutor had accepted that she'd been manipulated, but she'd still participated willingly. I never spoke for Cheryl at sentencing. When her lawyer asked me to write a letter requesting leniency, I declined. She'd made her choice when she smashed that teapot, and choices have consequences. Now Barbara and I live in a smaller house by Lake Mineola, about an hour from where all the trouble started. She's fully recovered from the sedatives they'd been giving her, and her mind is as sharp as ever. We spend our days fishing, reading, and working in the garden. Cheryl calls sometimes, but we keep the conversations brief. Trust, once shattered in a family, doesn't easily repair itself. The funny thing is, I actually do miss the $75,000 this whole ordeal cost me in legal fees and security upgrades. But watching Dean learn that federal prison doesn't have cryptocurrency trading privileges, that was worth every penny. I'm Vincent Brooks. I'm 58 years old. I used to think family meant everything. Now I understand that respect and safety mean everything, and family is just the people who choose to earn both. Sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to enable someone's destruction, even when that someone is your own child. Family isn't about blood or last names. It's about who stands by you when the world falls apart, and who you can trust not to be the one tearing it down.